Have you ever noticed something strange? The people making the most money online are usually not doing anything exciting. They're not influencers. They're not day trading crypto at 3 a.m. And they're definitely not following their passion. In fact, most of them are doing work that sounds painfully boring. And that's exactly why they're getting paid so well. Because while everyone is chasing cool remote jobs, those jobs get flooded with thousands of applicants. But the boring ones, nobody talks about them. Nobody wants them. And that creates a very interesting opportunity. Low competition, high demand. And surprisingly, very good income. Hey, I'm Sidra, and on this channel, Sidra Invest, we don't chase hype, we chase smart money. And today, I'm going to show you something most YouTube videos won't. Remote jobs that are simple, stable, and quietly making people a lot of money. Some of these are so overlooked that companies literally cannot hire people fast enough. And no, you don't need to be a tech genius, but I will be honest with you. These jobs are not glamorous. They're not fun, but they work. And here's something important before we start. While everyone is panicking about AI taking jobs, the truth is, AI still struggles with things like human judgment, emotional understanding, real-world decision-making, which means there's a whole category of jobs that are actually becoming more valuable right now. And that's exactly what we're tapping into today. All right, let's get into it. Job number 1, Media Search Analyst. Now this one is crazy because it literally pays you to have opinions. As a media search analyst, you're basically the human quality control behind search engines. You know when you search something on Google or YouTube and you think, why is this result even here? Yeah, companies need people like you to fix that. Think of it like this. You're not building the algorithm, you're judging it. You review search results. You rate whether they are useful or not. You give feedback on content quality, no coding, no complex systems, just your brain and your judgment. I found a case where someone with a political science degree, not tech, landed this role and said, I basically get paid to analyze content trends and say what works and what doesn't. Now here's the interesting part. Some roles in this field can go up to around $90,000+ per year. But even if you start lower, the flexibility alone is insane. Many positions let you choose your hours, don't require prior experience, just require passing a basic assessment. Here's why this job is powerful. AI can process data, but it's terrible at understanding human context. It doesn't know what feels helpful, misleading, annoying only humans do. Quick pros and cons. So quick reality check. It's easy to start, flexible, high demand, but can feel repetitive, requires focus, not very exciting. And if you think that's boring, the next one is even more behind the scenes, but even more stable. Job number 2, Healthcare Patient Coordinator. Now this one might not sound exciting, but it's one of the most recession-proof remote jobs out there. As a patient coordinator, you're basically the person keeping the healthcare system from falling apart. Think of yourself like a traffic controller, but instead of cars, you're managing appointments, patient records, insurance verifications. So basically, what you do: schedule appointments, follow up with patients, handle basic admin tasks, communicate between doctors and patients. And yes, all of this can be done remotely. I read about someone who works in this role, and she said her commute is literally walking from her kitchen to her desk. But what stood out was this. She said the best part of her job was when she helped someone who was scared or confused and just needed a real human to talk to. Why this job is gold? Here's the truth. Healthcare is not going anywhere. In fact, with aging populations worldwide, the demand is actually increasing. Now let's be real. This is not a get-rich-quick job. You're looking at around $45,000 to $55,000 per year. But what you get instead is stability, consistency, long-term career growth. And this is where it gets interesting. AI cannot replace empathy. It cannot. Comfort a worried patient. Understand emotional situations. Handle unpredictable human behavior. And that's exactly why this role is safe. Quick pros and cons. This job is extremely stable, easy to learn, meaningful work, but can be repetitive, emotionally draining, sometimes not high income initially. Now, quick question for you. Which one would you pick so far? The flexible, analyze content job or the stable healthcare role? Drop it in your mind because it gets more interesting from here. Because coming up next, we're getting into jobs that are even easier to start, require almost zero technical skills. And one of them literally involves talking for under 4 minutes per call. Yeah, you'll see what I mean. All right, now we're getting into something interesting because the next few jobs are not just stable, they're ridiculously simple to start. And one of them you can literally learn in a few days. Job number 3, donation support representative. Now, this one is probably the most underrated job on this entire list. And the reason is simple. It sounds too basic, so people ignore it. As a donation support representative, you're handling incoming calls for nonprofits. That's it. So, basically in this job, you take donation calls, collect basic information as name, email, payment details, enter it into a system. And here's the best part. Most calls last under 3 to 4 minutes. Think of it like this. You're not selling anything. You're not convincing anyone. The person is already ready to donate. You're just processing it. Scripts are already written. Systems are beginner-friendly. Training is usually provided. If you can type, speak clearly, follow instructions, you can do this job. You're looking at around $40,000 to $50,000 per year. Not crazy money, but very solid for something this simple. Now think about this logically. Nonprofits will always need funding, and when people donate, they prefer talking to a real human, not a robot. Quick pros and cons. Very easy to start. Flexible hours. Many are 24/7 roles. Short interactions. But repetitive, not very high paying, can feel monotonous. Now, if you want something slightly more structured, with a bit more growth potential, this next one is a big step up. Job number 4, Accounts Payable / Receivable Clerk. Don't let the name scare you. This is not some complex finance job. As an accounts clerk, you're basically handling invoices, payments, financial records. Think of it like this. You're making sure the money going in and out of a business actually makes sense. Overall, in this job, you check invoices, record payments, match numbers, update systems. That's it. It's simple because the workflow is repetitive. The systems are structured, and you follow the same steps daily. No complex decision-making, just accuracy. Its salary is where it gets even better, around $50,000 to $60,000 per year for a job that doesn't require a degree. Advanced technical skills. It's powerful because every single business on earth needs to process payments, no exceptions, which means this job is never going away. Some parts are automated, but when something goes wrong, when numbers don't match, a human steps in. And that's where you come in. Quick pros and cons. This job is very stable, predictable work, easy to learn, but repetitive, detail-heavy, can feel boring. Now, if you like the idea of structured work, but want something more connected to the online world, this next one is huge right now. Job number 5, E-commerce order support specialist. This is basically customer service, but for online shopping, and it's exploding. As an order support specialist, you help customers with things like, where is my order? I got the wrong item. I want a refund. You track orders, respond to emails or chats, apply company policies, resolve basic issues. If you've ever used Amazon, Daraz, Shopify, stores, you already understand the system. It's easy. Scripts are provided. Systems are user-friendly. Most issues follow patterns. You're not solving complex problems. You're following guidelines. Its salary is around $45,000 to $60,000 per year, and sometimes higher depending on the company. E-commerce is not slowing down, it's growing every single year. We're talking about trillions of dollars globally, which means more orders, more customers, more problems, and companies need people to handle that. Many people start here and then move into e-commerce management, operations, store ownership, quick pros and cons, easy entry, high demand, career growth potential, but can be repetitive, customer frustration at times, shift-based work. Now pause for a second. Look at what we've covered so far. Jobs that don't need degrees, jobs that don't need coding, jobs that are actually hiring. But here's where it gets even better, because in the next part, we're moving into higher paying roles, data-related jobs, and one role that can cross $100,000 plus without a traditional career path. And this is where most people start saying, wait, why didn't I know about this earlier? All right, now we're stepping into a different level. Up until now, we've talked about simple, stable, easy to start jobs. But now, we're moving into roles that are still boring, but the income potential jumps significantly. And this is where things start getting really interesting. Job number 6, Statistics Validator. Now, this job sounds complicated, but once you understand it, it's actually very straightforward. A statistics validator is the person who checks if data is actually true. You've seen claims like 9 out of 10 people recommend this. This product increases results by 300%. Ever wondered? Who verifies that? That's this job. You review data and reports, check if numbers are accurate, verify research methods, ensure companies aren't making false claims. Think of it like being a detective, but instead of solving crimes, you're solving data. Why this job matters? Because one wrong statistic can cost companies millions in lawsuits. So they don't take this lightly. Salary starts around $40,000, can go up to $65,000 plus with bonuses. Why it's high demand? We are living in a data-driven world. Every company uses data, markets with data, sells using data. But most of that data needs verification. AI can analyze numbers, but it struggles with context, intent, legal implications, and that's where humans are still essential. Quick pros and cons, strong demand, good pay, low client interaction, but requires focus, can be repetitive, slight learning curve. Now, if you like working with structured systems, the next job takes that idea and multiplies the income. Job number 7, Documentation Writer, SOP Specialist. This one is seriously underrated, and most people don't even know it exists. A documentation writer creates internal guides for companies. We're talking about SOPs, standard operating procedures, process guides, internal systems. Think of it like this. Every company has chaos behind the scenes. Your job is to turn that chaos into clear step-by-step instructions. You interview team members, understand workflows, write clear processes, organize company knowledge. Why this job is valuable? Because companies scale through systems, and without documentation, everything breaks. Now here's where it gets interesting. Salary ranges from $70,000 to $120,000 plus per year. Yes, for writing and organizing information. It pays so well because it saves companies time, reduces mistakes, makes teams more efficient, and efficiency is equal to money. You don't need a degree. You need clear writing skills, organization, ability to understand processes, quick pros and cons, high income, remote friendly, growing demand, but revisions and edits, meetings required, can feel repetitive. Now, if you think organizing information is powerful, wait till you see what happens when you control the actual data. Job number 8, Database Administrator. Now this one is where things start getting serious. You've probably heard this before. Data is the new oil. Well, someone needs to manage that oil. That's the database administrator. As a DBA, you store data, protect data, manage data systems. Think of it like being a bank vault manager, but instead of money, you're protecting information. You maintain databases, ensure security, optimize performance, fix issues when things break. Now let's talk numbers. $70,000 starting salary, up to $120,000 plus dollars with experience, and it can go even higher. Every company today runs on data, customer data, sales data, financial data, and losing that data is a disaster. So companies are willing to pay very well. Now, this job does require learning tools like SQL basic certifications. But here's the key: you don't need a 4-year degree. Many people enter through online certifications, self-learning. AI helps manage data, but it doesn't replace responsibility. Because if something goes wrong, a human is accountable. Quick pros and cons: high salary, strong demand, career growth. But learning required, high responsibility, sometimes on call. Now, pause for a second. We just moved from $40,000 jobs to $100,000 plus dollars potential roles, and we're still not done. Because in the next part, we're going into some of the highest paying roles on this list. Jobs that are surprisingly beginner-friendly, and one role that can literally pay you based on performance without even closing sales. And trust me, this next section is where most people completely change how they look at boring jobs. All right, now we're in the final stretch, and these last few jobs, they're the ones people usually ignore the most, but they often have some of the highest upside. Job number 9, remote setter, appointment setter. Now this one is very different from anything we've covered so far, because here you directly help businesses make money. As a remote setter, your job is simple. Talk to potential customers, ask a few questions, book them for a call. That's it. You're not closing deals. You're not selling aggressively. You're just qualifying people. Think of it like this: you're the person who fills the calendar, so the closer can close. You reply to messages as DMs, emails, start conversations, identify interested people, book appointments. Why this job is powerful? Because every online business needs more calls, more leads, more conversions. And if you help generate that, you become valuable. $3,000 to $7,000 per month, and sometimes more. Because many roles are commission-based, which means the better you perform, the more you earn. Why it's beginner-friendly. Many companies train you, scripts are provided, no degree required, but you need good communication, consistency, and discipline because you're often tied to your inbox. PROs and cons. High earning potential. No technical skills, performance-based growth, but can be mentally draining, requires consistency, not passive at all. Now, if you prefer something quieter, less communication, but still high impact, this next one is very interesting. Job number 10, content risk reviewer. Now, this job is not for everyone, and I'll explain why in a second. A content risk reviewer is someone who reviews online content, flags inappropriate or risky material, ensures platforms stay advertiser-friendly. Here's something most people don't realize. Platforms like YouTube make billions from ads, but advertisers will only stay if their ads don't appear next to bad content, which means someone has to monitor that content. You watch or review content, identify policy violations, flag or remove risky material. Salary is around $70,000 to $80,000 per year. Why demand is massive? Think about this. Hundreds of hours of content are uploaded every minute. AI helps, but it still misses context, tone, subtle issues. So humans are still needed. Now here's the downside. Some content you review can be disturbing. That's why this job is high-paying, high demand, but also mentally challenging. Pros and cons. Strong demand, good salary, remote work, but not for everyone. Mentally heavy, requires focus. Now, let's finish with one of the most overlooked yet powerful roles on this list. Job number 11, Funeral sales specialist. Yeah, I know, this one sounds uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it pays so well. As a funeral sales specialist, you help people plan funeral services, manage costs, make arrangements. Think of it like planning, but for end-of-life services. Simple truth. This industry never stops. No matter what happens in the economy, this service is always needed. Salary is $50,000 base, up to $80,000 plus dollars with commission. Top performers can go even higher. Why competition is low? Because most people avoid this industry completely, which creates less competition, more opportunities. What you need: empathy, communication skills, emotional strength. This is one of the most AI-proof jobs on this list because technology cannot replace human compassion. Pros and cons: high earning potential, very stable, low competition, but emotionally challenging, not for everyone, requires mental strength. Now, look at what we just covered. These are not trendy jobs, make money overnight schemes, social media fantasies. These are real jobs, real income, real opportunities, and the pattern is very clear. The more boring the job, the less competition, the higher the opportunity. While everyone else is chasing influencer careers, dropshipping hype, passive income dreams, smart people are quietly building income through skills that actually matter, work that actually pays. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Do you want something exciting or something that actually works? Because those two are usually not the same. If you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe to Sidra Invest because this is exactly what we do here. Real strategies, real income ideas, no fluff, and before you leave, tell me in the comments which job surprised you the most, because your answer might help someone else find their next opportunity. I'll see you in the next video.